All right, welcome back to the ProPresenter training. This is part 2, or the section 3 on the training document, and this is for essential Sunday skills. So these are the skills that you're going to have to know for a typical Sunday. So one of the most frequent things and one of the most common mistakes that is made at this position is not changing the back screen layout. So what is the back screen? We have this back screen. It should be over your right shoulder, and that's what the worship leaders or preacher or whoever's giving the announcements, that's what they look off of in order to make sure they're saying the right thing, make sure that the announcement slide is the right slide, because they would look really dumb if they looked over their shoulder all the time to those front screens. So it creates a more professional look so that they don't have to look over their shoulder. But we have a couple of different layouts for that back screen depending on what's going on it. So let's go ahead and pull up a preview of that back screen. So we'll hit Command, comma. This brings up the preferences window for ProPresenter. The other way to do it is click on ProPresenter up here up the top. Click Preferences. You can see there's a short key here, Command, comma. We're going to do Configure Stage Display. So we'll drag this out of the way for a minute. This is what the back slide is going to look like, or the back screen is going to look like when it's in this mode. So this mode makes a lot of sense for when they're singing. You need lyrics up here. This is the current slide, next slide, and a stage message. We'll get to the stage message later. So, I'll kind of drag this out of the way so that we can see it going. As you go through the slides, this is changing so that they can not only see what's on the current slide on the screen, but they can see what's coming next. So that works really, really well for the worship, for the singing portions of the Sunday service. We also have another layout for announcements or for the message for the sermon. The reason we have this is because the other layout, singing, does not display images, and most of Don's sermon slides are images. We'll get to that later on in the training, but for the announcements and for the sermon, obviously all the announcement slides are just image slides. They're just graphics. So it won't display properly if you keep it in this singing mode. Okay, so anytime there's announcements being given, or especially when Don is preaching, you need to make sure that you have it on announcements or sermon. The rule of thumb is if there's anybody up there and they're not singing, just go to the announcements or the sermon slide. So it's convenient. You can keep this little thing kind of tucked down here, kind of out of the way. You don't need this up. But I brought that up just to show you what's on the back screen. Obviously, when you're here, you can just click it and look over your shoulder. So you can keep this down here, and you can go through the song, whatever you need to do, and then Doug is stepping up to the stage to give announcements, and then you just change it. And once this is blue, that's what it's displaying. All right. I don't want you to edit the stage display. All I want you to do is just switch back and front to here. Okay. Or back and forth from here. So let's go to clocks. We don't use clocks a whole lot in the balance service. We mostly use it in the creative service, and it's something in order to keep to make sure that whoever's speaking there leaves on time to make it back to the worship center for the second balance service to make sure that they're on time. But I'm going to go ahead and show it to you anyway. So we'll do View and then clocks. And there's several different ways to use this clock setting. There's a bunch of different countdowns, and this is just a 5-minute countdown. Well, maybe it's not even enabled. Oh well. It's okay. You really don't have to use countdowns at all in Balanced. I just want you to know that feature is there. If you ever do serve in the creative service for ProPresenter, maybe go through that training, because I know there's a clocks portion of the training on the Chapel ProPresenter training. So maybe watch through that, because this seems like it's disabled for this one. Stage messages. This is very important for this service. Instead of when Don is ready for the second service, so let's say Don is waiting backstage on a backstage right behind the drums. He'll usually whisper into his mic, "I'm ready," or "I'm here," and the audio engineer is listening for that and will tell you, "Hey, Don is ready." What we used to do is the audio engineer used to show a little LED light to the worship leader. That was easy to miss and is easy for the congregation to get distracted by if they look back, which they shouldn't be, but happens. So we have this stage message one. So not messages, but stage message over here with the little megaphone. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the back slide again, the stage display. We're going to go to singing so that you can see it. So this is what the worship leader is seeing. They're, padding through songs, and Don is ready. So the audio engineer tells you, hey, Don is ready. We need to get this message to Corb or whoever is leading worship. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit send message. Notice how this blinks. Now, yes, the text does stay up there, but Corb and a lot of the other worship leaders typically get tunnel vision on Sunday, not literally to where they, are about to pass out, but they're paying real close attention to these slides, and so that's easy to miss unless they see the flashing. So what we've been doing, and it seems to work pretty well, is just keep hitting stage message until you get a nod from Corb or whoever the worship leader is, and then you can stop hitting send message, but keep hitting send message until they see it. All right, and it'll just keep blinking for a few seconds. All right, then you can hit hide, send message again, hide. That's different buttons you can use. You can hit clear if you don't want it there at all, and that kind of deletes it. So one thing you can do is when you first get here, you can go ahead and pull this stage display message up and just go ahead and type your message so it's ready. So that way it's ready to go, and all you have to do is when Kevin or Gary, whoever's running audio that week, says, hey, Don's ready, just keep hitting that button. So that way it's already up. You just kind of keep it tucked down here or, wherever you want. You guys can rearrange these windows however you want, but you definitely need to have the stage display options window up and the stage display message window up. So that way you can send that message really quickly. And you don't have to think or type or do any of that. You just have it all done ahead of time. Kids emergency message. This is something that we're going to start bringing back in. The purpose of this is so that if, let's say that a kid in the nursery gets really sick and they need their parents to the nursery very quickly. There's a couple of different ways that this has worked in the past. What we're going to be doing now is you'll get a notification, say, hey, can you put kid's number, and we'll pick TK421. So what we do is we get messages, not stage message, but messages. It looks like a little, chat icons. So we're going to say TK421 and hit show message. So see how that shows up down here on the screen? That's all you have to do. You just have to type the kid's number and hit show message. And we're going to change this to 1 minute. It'll display for 1 minute. So after you hit show message, we're not going to sit here the whole time on this training video. But after a minute, it should go away. It's good to keep this up somewhere. It's not being used a whole lot. That's a good thing. But it's good to just have it up and ready. So all you have to do is, hey, just put it up real quick. All right, and you can hide it by doing that. And that should display over top of anything that's on the screen. So this is what's called a prop. So you have background is the furthest back layer, then slides, and then you have props. Props are on top of slides. So it doesn't matter what slide you have up here. Let's go to the sermon message. Okay. You can hit show message and it'll display down here in the corner. Okay. Video audio checks. If you have a Sunday that has a video, whether it's in the announcements or in the message itself, we need to test and make sure that video, that the audio on that video is coming through the mixer, coming through the house speakers, and not just the speakers on the iMac. This is an essential part of your job, and if you don't do it, it's very easy to see. It's one of those very visible mistakes. If you change slides a little late or a little too fast, that's a visible mistake, but it's not as bad as not having the audio on a video because everyone is watching the screens. So always, always, always check to make sure that there's not a video in your announcements or in your message or somewhere in the service, a missionary update, things like that. It should already be loaded for you, so I'm not going to have you work through that. But here's how we do it. So after rehearsal, before the doors open, after the rehearsal, before the doors open, you need to do this audio check. It's helpful if you remind the audio engineer, hey, after they get done singing for rehearsal, can we check a video's audio real quick? It's your responsibility to remind the audio engineer that, hey, we have a video and we need to check it. So what we do is once the rehearsal is over, you remind the audio engineer, hey, can we check this video really quick? You make sure that the audio cable is plugged into the back of the Mac, and it's on the back of the screen. It's the furthest little hole on the right of the back side of the screen. So if you reach your right hand around on the back side, kind of on the bottom of the screen, you'll feel the audio, the little jack for it. Make sure that that jack is plugged in, and then have the audio engineer play it through the mains, through the house once you're satisfied, and make sure it works. You don't have to play the whole video, but just make sure it works. And once you're both satisfied, that's it. And maybe remind him, when it's coming up in the service. Say, hey, after this song we have a video. Then that way he knows to be ready for it. Okay? That's it for the Essential Sunday Skills. Next, we're going to talk about importing the sermon slides. This is something you'll have to do most Sundays, and it's something that is really, really essential. I didn't include it in the Essential Sunday stuff because it's kind of got a whole bunch of steps all to its own. So I'll see you on Sermon Import.